A body of water so strategically important that controlling just a portion of it could give a nation the power to disrupt nearly a third of the world's maritime trade. Picture underwater choke points through which over $5 trillion worth of goods pass every single year. Goods destined for your home, your grocery store, your workplace. Now imagine a country with 1.4 billion people systematically building artificial islands, installing military equipment, and essentially drawing a line across an entire sea, declaring it their own. That country is China, and the water is the South China Sea, one of history's most dangerous strategic battlegrounds where economic prosperity meets military ambition, and where a single miscalculation could reshape global commerce forever. Let's start with the most obvious reason: money, and lots of it. The South China Sea isn't just any body of water. It's the economic nervous system of the global economy. Every single day, approximately 1/3 of all maritime trade flowing across our planet passes through these waters. We're talking about $5.3 trillion worth of commercial goods annually. Over 45% of global crude oil shipments traverse these waters, along with 42% of propane and 26% of automotive trade. This is the circulatory system of global commerce. But for China, the stakes are even higher. Roughly 40% of China's total maritime trade passes through the South China Sea, meaning 2/5 of everything China exports to the world and everything it imports travels through these contested waters. China's manufacturing machine, which supplies global markets with everything from iPhones to medical devices, fundamentally depends on uninterrupted maritime access through this region. This creates what experts call China's greatest economic vulnerability: dependence on the Malacca Strait. Picture a narrow waterway, just 1.7 miles wide at its narrowest point that's barely wider than a city. Yet it serves as the gateway through which 80% of China's oil imports flow. China's leaders are acutely aware of this vulnerability. Control over the South China Sea offers China a way to mitigate this risk, providing military presence to protect its vital shopping lanes and alternatives to routing critical supplies. By establishing dominance in the region, China believes it can protect its economic lifeblood. Beyond trade routes, the South China Sea holds vast untapped energy reserves. According to various estimates, the region contains somewhere between 7.5 billion and 17.7 billion barrels of oil. Compare that to Kuwait's proven reserves of 13 billion barrels. As for natural gas, estimates range from 190 trillion to 500 trillion cubic feet, with Chinese estimates pushing even higher. These aren't trivial amounts. China is currently the world's largest oil importer and is expected to rely on foreign sources for as much as 80% of its oil by 2030. The country is also expanding its oil refining capacity faster than any other nation, adding 1.5 million barrels per day in capacity between 2022 and 2028. Having direct access to energy reserves in the South China Sea would reduce China's dependence on Middle Eastern suppliers and strengthen its strategic independence. Starting around 2013, China embarked on one of the largest military construction projects in modern history. Between December 2013 and October 2015 alone, China dredged up and reclaimed nearly 3,000 acres of land, transforming 7 small coral reefs and shoals into functional military outposts. The scale of this operation is staggering. Consider Mischief Reef, Fiery Cross Reef, and Subi Reef, 3 of the largest artificial islands China has constructed. These aren't simple islands. They're strategically engineered military installations complete with reinforced bunkers, weapon storage, radar systems, airport runways, aircraft hangars, missile launching platforms, and military docking facilities. The militarization serves multiple purposes. First, it extends China's military range and surveillance capabilities far into the Pacific. These islands give Chinese aircraft, ships, and submarines bases for rest, resupply, and operations. Second, the military infrastructure sends a powerful message of control and permanence. Third, and perhaps most important, these bases project power that intimidates neighboring countries and complicates U.S. naval operations in the region. With this military infrastructure in place, China now has the theoretical capability to monitor, control, or even restrict maritime traffic through the South China Sea. While China hasn't yet attempted outright disruption, such disruption would carry severe economic costs, even for China. The military capability fundamentally changes the geopolitical balance. China has already demonstrated its willingness to use aggressive tactics. Chinese Coast Guard vessels have rammed Philippine ships, used water cannons against fishing vessels, and occasionally fired warning shots. These aren't military invasions. They're gray zone operations that remain below the threshold of open warfare but effectively establish Chinese control over disputed areas. Now, China doesn't just assert control militarily. It also claims legal authority over nearly the entire South China Sea through something called the Nine-Dash Line. First inscribed on a Chinese map in 1947, this dashed line encircles an area that encompasses roughly 2 million square kilometers, encompassing the Paracel Islands, the Spratly Islands, and numerous other strategic locations. The line is deliberately ambiguous. The South China Sea also connects directly to another pillar of Xi's grand strategy, the Belt and Road Initiative launched in 2013. The BRI encompasses the 21st century maritime Silk Road, which explicitly runs through the South China Sea and the Indian Ocean, connecting China to Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. For this initiative to succeed, for China to effectively trade with distant markets through its maritime routes, China needs strategic control over the South China Sea. These two strategies are inextricably linked. The BRI has become the vehicle through which China is investing in port infrastructure and connectivity projects through Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. The South China Sea is the crucial hub where this maritime strategy originates and passes through. Without control, or at least dominant influence over this region, the entire BRI infrastructure strategy becomes vulnerable to disruption. The South China Sea has become a central arena for US-China strategic competition. The United States views China's expanding military presence and territorial claims as a direct threat to the rules-based international order and to American influence in the Indo-Pacific region. The US maintains that it takes no position on who owns the islands, but it absolutely opposes any attempt to restrict freedom of navigation, a principle fundamental to global commerce and American military operations. So why should you care about these distant islands and contested water? Because the South China Sea isn't a problem isolated to the Indo-Pacific. It's a problem that will ultimately affect the global economy, your job market, the prices you pay for goods, and the stability of the international system you depend upon. China wants the South China Sea because it represents the fulfillment of its geopolitical ambitions, control over its economic lifeline, military dominance of a crucial region, and proof that the international order must accommodate Chinese interests. The outcome of this struggle will determine whether China successfully reshapes the global order in its favor or whether international law and freedom of navigation remain protected. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe.